Okay, so apparently we are live now. Welcome to our first ever live stream for the store, I guess, on our YouTube channel. As somebody pointed out earlier, they were like, "Wow, we didn't know you had a YouTube channel,"
No, I didn't
and
either.
yeah, we actually did. It was set up a while ago. We just only ever used it for the announcement for the new store.
Mhm.
And really haven't had a chance to do anything else with it. But we want to start changing that, and we figured Shatterpoint is the best way to start that whole thing. We're gonna kick off that thing. Blech.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the cool new exciting thing that everybody's talking about, and it's Star Wars. And some of us here quite enjoy Star Wars.
Quite a bit, in fact. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone. I'm just adjusting the temperature in this room a little bit. Um,
Appreciate it.
yeah.
Mm. Um, yeah, we obviously have one of the a demo set up and fully assembled. It was a lot of fun, and it's actually very easy to put most of the models together, except for this one.
If you can't tell, that's one of the bases of the B1 droids. They are skinny little droids. If you remember from Star Wars, you look at them funny and they fall apart. So yeah, they're
If you look at them funny when you're trying to put them together, they also fall apart. But really, like so many of these things were so easy, and then each one of these little guys is 10 pieces.
yep. That the models are. I wish we'd had a chance to paint them yet because these models are
Not in focus.
not in focus at all.
Hmm.
With
Your
my hand
hand.
behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Oh.
Yeah, it
Wow.
definitely they have a lot of detail to them. That's Lord Maul. Um, they are a different scale than Warhammer and some of the other games.
They're really close to Crisis Protocol if you've seen that game, those
Yeah,
minis.
it makes them very dynamic. I was at first a little disappointed that they weren't doing like kind of like a kill team for Legion kind of thing, but after actually seeing the models and playing with the game a little bit, I get what they were going for. And as a squad based miniatures game, it's rather clever and really cool what they did with it,
Mm.
especially with all this fancy terrain.
Yeah, the terrain is really cool. And like I was actually reading an article earlier talking about starter sets and comparing like so many miniature games when you get into it and there's a starter set that gives you enough for two people to play, but it's enough for two people to try the game out. Like you're probably not running with the full rules, you're probably not running with a full squad.
Everything.
This is everything. You
It,
have four full squads and two or four squads the right word, right? And you have two on each
yes.
team.
Yeah.
Uh, but you have it's got each side has 8 models.
Yep.
Right? You have two primary models, two secondary models, and then four support models.
Yep. For each squad, it's you could literally buy the starter box and play dozens of games with people and not have the same game happen and be perfectly content if there wasn't anything for months that was coming out that you're like, "Oh, I don't really care about those characters. I wanted these characters." Because there's so much in this box.
But there are also new characters coming.
There are definitely also new characters coming out, which we'll talk about a little bit later. He's kind of interested in some of those characters.
Yeah.
Um, so how how long do you think it took you to put together all of this?
Well, I was doing it while I was running events and hanging out, and it took me probably 8 hours, 6 or 8 hours.
Okay.
But like, also I was doing other things while I was doing it too. People were coming up and asking me questions, and
Yeah.
I was talking about the game.
If you're an experienced modeler, I would say probably no more than 2 hours, honestly, to put most of this together. Maybe three. Maybe three. I okay. Yeah, there is a lot of clipping that you have to do. So that box that he's holding right there is an unopened box or
The box was open,
unassembled set of them.
but it comes with so much stuff. The hobbying is real. Check out these sprues. These are actually just the character sprues. So like all of this is just the people, which is a lot. But then all of this is terrain,
Yeah.
which I mean, obviously there's a lot. The terrain goes together really well, and again, the models go together well. So if you've got the assembly down,
The other thing I'm noticing is there's these really cool grooves in a lot of the terrain. I
really,
haven't noticed that in anybody else's terrain. Oh my gosh. So yeah, there. some of the terrain is modular and done pretty well.
Oh, a lot of the terrain is modular.
Yeah, they did a really clever job with that.
And some of the things have little standees, and I strongly suggest thinking a little bit before you put the train together because there's some like I maybe wasn't supposed to glue these legs here, but don't worry about it. But like all of these things move around. You can set up different setup or different scenarios with different lovely terrain. You have access points. So this is really cool. With something so vertical, it seems like it would be difficult to travel those points. But if you have a ladder, which is an
The ladders are what now?
ladder, which I believe is called an access point. And if you move a character within, it's like a one distance, which
Yep.
is just the side of one of the movement templates we'll talk about in a minute, you can just move to the top of it.
And it's this more than any other miniature game that I've ever seen wants you to move around, and it really encaptures the incredible movement that Jedi and these warriors who like have jetpacks and things like that. So you're not just fighting on a straightforward battlefield, and it's not like there's some flyers that are above you. People can move around, they can move up and down at will, they can jump. I mean, some of the Jedi can just move up to the higher level things on their own because they have leap abilities and things like that. Yeah, little movement markers for everything. And it's pretty impressive, actually. It does such a great job of capturing that feel of Star Wars, of what we all, when we actually are watching the battles of Star Wars, what we actually feel like in it. And part of the way they do that is through these awesome ability cards, which are completely upside down. Not that you can see this because we're still new at this, but one of the great ways this game captures it is in the cards. You kind of see those boxes in that black area during your combat. You actually, after you determine your by rolling dice, you determine your success and failure. For every success that you have, you actually get to move down that little path on there, and you get to choose different routes. And there's little different things that can happen, whether it's doing more damage, getting extra moves, triggering certain abilities, and it really makes every character feel much more dynamic. So like Darth Maul is all about doing extra damage and moving a lot so that he can kind of just keep moving through the battlefield and slicing through people and that sort of thing. Whereas Anakin, not only does he want to do damage, but he also wants to reposition himself because he thinks of himself as a leader and a general. And so he's moving up onto higher things and jumping out of the way and getting ready for his next attack and that sort of thing.
Yeah, this is really cool. It looks like an old like JRPG skill tree. You know, like you're
Yeah.
going up and you're like, I have to start here and then I want to go this way and I want to make sure I do this thing. It's just you activate it every time you do stuff.
The other part of it is that the dice themselves have because we have a D8 for damage and a D6 for defense, but the dice have a side that's called the expertise. So when you roll the expertise sides, you have little markers, little charts on your card as well that say, okay, if you rolled one or two or three or four expertise sides, you get to do extra things. Either it's extra damage or you count as having extra successes, or some characters even negate the other person's criticals and that sort of thing. It's a different kind of combat system, and it's really nice because it's not just simply like, oh, we're going to compare our toughness and then get a number and do this. It's actually like we're rolling dice against each other, and I have at the end of this, I have four more successes than you, so I'm going to do a lot of things in this one turn. And the cool thing is that certain characters also, because of representing all of their abilities, even on their defense, they can have expertise and do different things, and sometimes even move out of the way completely, which is really nice. And your main characters, especially the stronger ones, have two different sides that you get to choose every round, whether you want them in basically attack or defense mode.
Like I think Darth Maul is the one where he has on one side he actually has a ranged attack where he can throw his lightsaber, and on the other side he's just melee.
Yep.
Which is kind of snazzy.
Yeah. Even though it still represents it by the gun symbol, it's supposed to represent his idea of his throwing his lightsaber at people, which is really clever.
It's also fun because so within this game, we've talked about kind of the different squads. There's the Darth Maul that has Gar Saxon and some Mandalorian super commandos. They suggest running Ahsoka Tano with Bo-Katan and some Kreis family Mandos. But you can switch it up. So if you look at the character, it says 8 points. Can you read that?
No.
Ooh, the hand trick is what Ethan said to do. So it says 8 points right here, even if you can't read it. That means that her squad, as she is the primary model, can have 8 points worth of models. You have to have one secondary and one support unit. And the secondary unit that this has is Bo Katan, who is 4 points. And then she has Clan Christ Mandalorians, who are another 4 points. But if I was feeling frisky, I could swap them out for Gar Saxon and the Super Commandos because the only restriction you have to actual list building is time period, is shown by this symbol right here.
Yep.
This is the
Era.
yes, that word.
So the deck building is actually, or the squad building, sorry, I keep calling it deck building. The squad building is really unique because the only restriction you have is it has to be in the same era as the leader, and then your points restriction. If your leader has 8 points, the most the rest of the squad can be is 8 points. And beyond that, you can even, your two squads, because each person plays with two squads, your two squads don't have to be from the same era. I can have one squad that's part of
Civil War.
the Galactic Civil War, and another one that's from what is the main?
The Clone Wars era?
Yeah, the Clone Wars era. Thank you. And they've already shown us models from things further down, like the Galactic Civil War. We don't have any of those yet. Everything in the base set is the Clone Wars era, but the Galactic Civil War is coming. We've seen some stuff hinted at that shows the New Republic era, and we don't know how granular some of these eras are going to get yet, but I have a feeling they're going to actually leave it pretty open. So pretty much everything after the fall through the up until the destruction of the second Death Star is probably going to be the Galactic Civil War. So we're going to have lots of fun with that.
It's so good. And they've announced so many terrible things. We're going to get Ewoks. There's an Ewok squad.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it is, but I'm really hoping for some Tebow. That's my boy. We're also they've announced Jango Fett because Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They've also announced Phoenix Squadron for those of you who like Rebels.
And, with the Ahsoka show coming out later this year, where all of them are now still around and that sort of thing. They've shown off Luke and R2 in a squad, as well as Darth Vader and some stormtroopers.
There's a cool thing they've done with Crisis Protocol in the past, because this is the same manufacturer or the same designer, Atomic Mass Games. It's called a rival panel, and so there's one that's got a Darth Vader fighting an older Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so then you take the models out and you can play with them. But when you're done, you have your little diorama and you can display them, and you need it.
I mean, if you're going to spend time painting and making these look nice, actually, I think it's a really clever idea. To add a little something to these packs that you're purchasing.
Well, and there are definitely people that do that for games like this, where they will take all their models and make a little diorama tray that they carry to an event. It's classy, but now you can just buy that.
Yep.
Which is, I need it.
Yep. So the game plays in a lot of ways unlike a lot of classic miniature games. Where it's either I take my turn and I do all of my stuff and then you go, or a lot of them are I take a move and then you take a move and then I take a move and then you take a move. And this one plays more in that back and forth action, but it does something a little different to represent the idea of this is a battle and half of these characters are superhumans and things like that move at fantastic speeds. You don't actually get to choose really who you want to activate every turn, and that sounds really weird at first, but it's really clever actually when you start playing with it.
It definitely I hated the concept, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So every one of these squad cards has an associated art card with it, and you actually form a deck of cards out of the cards with them. And then there's this fancy card that's like the art from the cover, which is the Shatterpoint, and it's called the Shatterpoint card, that you mix in with it as well, and you literally shuffle that deck up.
It'd be really cool if you get these in foil.
Oh, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be really cool if you get those in foil? I think there's something coming for that, actually.
Oh, yeah.
But you shuffle that card up, and on your turn, you literally turn over the top card of the deck. That's the character you get to, or the unit that you get to activate that turn. That can be one of your support units. That can be your squad leader, that sort of thing. The cool thing is say he turns over the Shatterpoint card.
I'm really good at shuffling this and turning over the Shatterpoint card and examples.
So the Shatterpoint card is actually a wild card. It lets you activate whoever you want. So that kind of your little bit of balance in there because like when I did my demo at Gamma a couple weeks ago, I got to activate Anakin at first, and he kind of tore through some stuff. And then on the next turn, I'd placed him in kind of a good spot. They didn't get to activate any of the things around. Like I kind of put him in the middle of people. I turned over the Shatterpoint card next turn, and it was like, cool, I'm right in the middle of everybody. This worked out in my favor. The other cool thing though is if you turn over a character, say you turn over Bo-Katan, and she is not really at an optimal position yet, but you know she's going to be, you can actually reserve that. You can say, nope, we're going to set her aside. There's a little reserve token, and you turn over the next card, which you have to activate now. And so, like in this case, it would be Anakin.
Oh no.
On your next turn, though, however, instead of turning over a card, you can activate your character that's in reserve. So you kind of have some ways to plan and mitigate for certain things if you think you're going to push or pull, because you're still working, like a lot of these games, it's not just about destroying the enemy teams, because that would be too easy sometimes. There are objectives, which they call struggles in this game.
One of the things that really won me over too with this whole like notion is they're describing it as like playing the Clone Wars. You're like fighters in the Clone Wars show where there's much smaller things. It's much more fast paced, like Jamison was saying. But you are, instead of coming in with a plan like a normal miniature game where it's like I've brought this, so I'm going to try to corner you here and do this and this. Since it's such a fast paced game with some randomized activation, you're actually more responding to the situations you're in. So you're going at it differently than you would most miniature games, which is kind of spicy.
There's even multiple the struggles, as we said, which are like the objectives for each round. There's multiple ones, and you are shuffling these up, and you're choosing one for the one, two for the two. So you, even if you get to the point where you've memorized what every struggle does, you will never know exactly which one is happening until you turn it over. And that changes where the objective markers and everything on the board are. And the actual one of the main ways to win, outside of, just blowing up everything on the board, is to win 2 out of the 3 struggles, because that's, you've proven superior to the other side.
How do you track struggles?
Well, there is the struggle tracker, which has your momentum in the battle, is what it's called. So every time the struggles have different things, different objectives, telling you what where you need to get to and that sort of thing. And if you ever catch up to your momentum tracker, you will win the struggle. And basically, every time you wound somebody, you gain momentum. Every time you hold on to the objectives during the missions, you will, gain momentum. And as it moves closer and closer to wherever the struggle wants it to be, you have your chances of winning are better. It's really nice because it increases that. Cool, he's over here killing this one squad, but he's not paying attention to the fact that, yeah, my other squad is over here just controlling the objectives and winning this way. And the other thing is the one of the ways they really capture like the how strong these characters really are and things like that. There's none of this, okay, I've shot it 4 times and it's gone. The characters all have wounds and damage. So Anakin, for instance, has to take 11 damage before he suffers a wound. And he has 3 wounds. So it basically takes 33 damage to knock Anakin off the board. Now, as they get more wounded, certain abilities like their force abilities and stuff become more of a difficult for them to use. So there's extra costs involved in that sort of thing. But there are ways to heal them and that sort of thing because you are, in the middle of a battle. And there's always that sort of stuff. Plus Jedi.
Yeah. If only there were more Jedi coming soon.
So in the initial release, along with the base set, there is a pack that has both General Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku as well. So we're already getting 2 more Jedi, and I forget who comes with. I think more droids with Count Dooku.
I think we get B2s, maybe.
Yeah, we get the B2 battle droids, or is it rollers?
Maybe, I don't remember. It's cool.
Yeah, I can't remember which one's those. And then Obi-Wan, of course, comes with more clones. Captain Rex comes in this one. I forget who.
Cody comes with.
Yeah, Captain Cody comes with Obi-Wan as well as some other clone troopers. Sorry, Commander Cody. It's Captain Rex, Commander Cody.
All right, we'll let it slide.
Okay. Uh, so yeah, it's brain
It's a
death.
game
It's a
that we're
game,
very
and
excited about.
yeah. Um, it's gonna be really cool. We are definitely gonna be supporting the organized play for it. I think both Charlie and I are kind of excited about it just because we like different things. Charlie's a Star Wars nerd and he can't help himself, and especially once he started seeing the cool models that are going to be coming, definitely couldn't help himself. I think the combat system is great. Any of you who know me, I run a store. I thrive on chaos, and there's a lot of chaos in this game.
Well, and Crisis Protocol is one of my favorite miniature games in a while, and this, I mean, it's not really similar, but it has a similar uh, kind of a loose feel to it, while still having decent balance, apparently,
Yeah,
uh, which is wild. Like having something where you can just bludgeon people around and do some of these crazy moves and have some crazy swings going on, and then still have competitive games that last for a while.
yep. And it's gonna be neat to see how once as more squads come out, what kind of things people put together. Because while you can play Galactic Empire with or sorry, Galactic Civil War with Clone Wars era guys, certain characters' abilities specifically talk about people from their era and that sort of thing. So you might think this one character is stronger, but maybe some of their abilities aren't going to work as well if they're not with characters of their own era.
Mandalorians like Mandalorians though, so as long as they're Mandalorians, they can hang out with Mandalorians and they'll get some kind of bonus, which is terrible because I like Mandalorians.
Who doesn't like Mandalorians right now? So there's organized play. So basically, the game comes out on June 2nd. Um, Everything you see here is in the core set that's coming out. We like I said, Obi-Wan and Count Dooku's packs are coming out. There's two different terrain packs, which are similar but different types of terrain than this. One is called the High Ground Terrain Pack. Uh, and I forget what the other one is called because the high ground one is just too funny to me.
Mm.
And they offer up different things. I think it's something about cover, so you're getting more pieces for cover, whereas the high ground one is specifically wants you to build upward, as well as extra measurement tools and extra dice, which definitely. Uh, if you've played any of these games before, the one downside is that they only give you one set of like the movement tools and dice in there, and you really generally end up wanting your own set. So that's nice. I did like the fact that they didn't just leave them plain. They have designs on them and stuff, so painting those up actually feels nice. You
Yeah,
get
they're real cool. So you have like the short one, the two that's melee, and it has crossed lightsabers.
yep.
And then you have the one that's a little bit longer, and it's a thermal detonator. And then we have lightning bolts for 4. And then we have a little Han Solo shooty shoot for number 5.
Showing the general range of the different things that you can do. And then the movement tools are again like if you've played Marvel Crisis Protocol, you'd be familiar with these. They let you use your movement in different ways and show off the things. And the game, one of the things I like about Atomic Mass is what they've done is they're a little more like the base represents the actual figure, and so a lot of the rules are if the base is touching it, that's all that matters. It doesn't need to be like a quarter covering it or a third covering it or anything like that. As long as the base is touching it, that's that.
It's so nice. I
Yeah.
love that. Also, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's a little R5D4 riding down Tatooine with the little two suns on the little short movement one, and that makes me very happy.
Lots of it's very clear. I mean, these people make that they took over making X-Wing and Legion and Armada. They clearly love Star Wars, and this is kind of like a love letter to I think some of the best parts of Star Wars, really, when it comes down to it.
And like also at the end of the day, Atomic Mass knows that I want to buy stuff that has cool figures in it that I like, that are my favorite characters, and then I want to smash other characters with those, and they just deliver.
Yeah, yep. And I can't wait to see what some people like. Sure, we know what these characters look like, but it's pretty impressive watching people paint things and the things they do to make them stand out and look different and that sort of thing. So it'll be cool to see that because, like regular Mandalorians, you can paint them however you want. Nobody's gonna even think that anything different. Sure, Ahsoka, you might want her to look specifically like Ahsoka, but who cares? It's yours. Paint it how you want it. That's
Mm.
one of the great things about this type of hobby. If you want all your guys to actually match, you can do that and that sort of thing. Or if you just want to put them together and primer them, that's fine. There's no rules about it being painted or anything like that.
And honestly, even if you do, like, there are a lot of people that are nervous about painting these things, but doing anything. Tabletop quality, like you can't see what this looks like that close, but if this was painted, you'd probably think it looked great.
Yeah. And the thing is, we have painting nights every Monday. So like if you're new to painting as well, painting is one of those things that you literally just by doing it, you will get better. I physically should be terrible at painting. I am partially colorblind and I have a small motor dysfunction, which makes my hands shake. But if you've ever seen some of my models, like just through years of like doing it, and it years ago I just constantly did it, and I got to the point where it was like, oh cool, I'm not afraid to put this on a battlefield and be laughed at. Or of course sometimes you can lean into that too as well, but you can, nobody's also really like, nobody cares, like paint your models how you want, learn how to paint on your models. It's great. Terrain is another great thing. If you want to paint your terrain, it's a great way to learn how to paint some of this stuff too, really get into it. It's kind of fun, actually. Painting can be very zen.
Oh yeah, and there's some really great ways to cheat at it, and
Yeah.
most of us, or some of us, definitely have some tips if you want to come
Yeah.
in and ask.
Contrast and speed paints are your friend.
Zenithal highlights.
Yeah. So we're actually this Saturday, excuse me, we're going to have, starting at noon, I think. Yeah, starting at noon, we're going to have these set up on the table and provide demos for y'all. We want you to learn how to play. We want you to give it a try. You don't necessarily need to play a whole game or anything, but play a round or two and see if you like it, because that's one of our big things here is, that's why we have the demo wall and everything. We want people to try out a game beforehand, especially something, it's a little bit of an investment. Unlike some games though, the nice part is you only have to invest so much and then you have your stuff. But we want you to try it out and see how you like it, because honestly, I think some of you who might be a little skeptical, if you try it out, you'll be, yeah. As he started putting it together and he started reading things, he was like, okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
And because he really didn't want to like it. He really didn't want to at first, and it was kind of cute watching him, because in the back of my head, I knew. Yeah. And the other thing is too, is while we were doing these demos, the anybody who tries it out, gives it a round or two a try, you're going to get a raffle ticket. And at the end of the day, we're going to raffle off something kind of cool. And I think Charlie's got it over here. Off. Yeah.
Oh.
So we're going to raffle off this Boba Fett
ship.
ship. It's a one of those cardboard puzzles, but it's in this nice display case and everything and so we're going to raffle that off at the end of the day. So come out and try the demo, give it a round or two. Yeah, I don't know how glued down that is.
It's a fire spray.
Yep, Boba Fett's fire spray. So and it's in this nice display case. You'll get the whole thing if you win the raffle. Like I said before, we have it up for pre-order online. We not only is it pre-ordered with our normal pre-order discount, there's also 2 bundles. One which is just the things for playing, the core set, the Dooku and Obi-Wan packs, and the extra measurement and dice. And then there's also an all-in set that has all of this plus the terrain sets. And the cool thing is the first 6 people who pre-order the all-in set are going to get a preview Ahsoka figure. They're only sending 6 to each store, only to the stores that ordered a certain amount and that sort of thing too as well, because I think they're a little afraid of running out of them. The cool thing is it's not the Ahsoka for here. This Ahsoka is
Jedi no more.
The Ahsoka towards the end of the Clone Wars, where she's decided that the Jedi Order isn't for her, that there's other ways to do things. Whereas the Ahsoka in the preview one is Ahsoka Padawan. She will come later on in a pack for what was her master's name, or her Kai Plun? Is that his name? Plo Koon. There we go.
Wasn't it?
Well, no, it was her. He was her, like I forget what. But she comes in the Plo Koon pack as well. But it's a preview figure, and you will get the card and everything. Apparently, we haven't seen it yet. We're supposed to get that stuff, I think, late next week. You get the card and everything to use her. I think her point cost is low enough that she can slide into some of the other things. And like I said, the first 6 people who'd order the all-in sets will get that. And currently, I think we still have 3 of those available. So that's pretty cool. Do remember though that you don't get the rest of the squad that comes in her box when she comes out. So, but it is kind of neat to get like a little preview figure. As a note too, she will not be legal for any kind of organized play.
Hmm.
because
Until she actually
until
releases
she
with the
actually
Cloak
releases,
Boondocks.
because you can't have something that only a couple people can get a hold of.
Well, not in this game, at least.
Not in this game, at least. um, we mentioned something about foil cards or something.
We did mention something about foil.
Yeah. So the other thing is if you purchase the game from us, you're going to get a foil Shatterpoint card while supplies last. I forget how many. I think we get 12 of them,
Something like that.
something like that. And then if you take part in some of the initiation stuff, so the beginning of organized play is what they call an initiation thing. There's going to be some starter missions that we will have, and basically they kind of start you off small, and each as you progress through each mission, they get bigger, and by the end of it, it's using all the rules, your full squad, all the terrain on a full size table, and everything like that. And it's a good way to get you used to all the different things a step at a time. And if you complete all of that, you're going to get a copy of those starter missions, as well as 4 alternate art versions of their Shatterpoint deck cards for the 4 main characters, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, I think we all are. Um, okay, sorry. I was looking at one of the comments down there. It was just Ethan being silly.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's everything. Did you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm excited about Phoenix Squad. We can just say that again.
Super excited about Phoenix Squad. I'm excited about seeing I got to see a couple of the different things like the Night Sisters and things
Oh,
like that. They definitely, these people know their Star Wars, and they definitely grabbed some stuff that they know people love, even though it seems really weird. Like a whole squad of Ewoks. I know there are people in their head that are like, how are Ewoks going to be any good? But we forget the Ewoks helped win the, Galactic Civil
I
War.
don't care. I don't
Yeah.
want them.
Um,
I can lose games. It's fine.
and they have so much to draw on between the movies, the TV shows, and the comics that are all considered canon that I can't wait. Atomic Mass, if you're listening, we need 000 and BD, whatever he's called, desperately. If you don't know what those are, they're hilarious versions of R2 and C3PO that are basically murder droids. So, yeah.
Need is a very strong word. But I know, like, with Crisis Protocol Atomic Mass, it said something to the effect of, like, we want it all eventually.
Yeah.
And that's my hope here is fine. I want to have some random stuff.
Yeah. And
What, Jodo Cast or something like that?
yeah, the what we've seen already and what I was told in Gamma was that basically after release, we would probably expect at least one release a month, if not more. They've been very good with Marvel Crisis Protocol as a
Hmm.
newer game, keeping all of that stuff going and putting out new stuff. They've been still pumping out Legion models left and right. So I expect that there will be some pretty cool things coming out for this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you, like I said, go to commongroundgames.com. You can pre-order there. You can pre-order in the store as well. And join us Saturday and take a look at the game and try it out.
Yeah.